Hello and welcome to another Big Science. I'm going to talk about taking a blood sample and looking at it under a microscope today, and I'm going to do that myself. Unfortunately, I haven't got the kind of modern sophisticated microscopes that have USB connectors and things, so you're not going to be able to see what I can see, but I do have a microscope. And they are quite easy to get hold of. You'll be able to get them in, junk shops, antique shops, charity shops, whatever. And there are also some you can actually get for free. I think in connection with Horrible Science you can get them for free, or at least you used to be able to. Right, so here's my microscope, and I want to just explain a few things about it before I say anything. It's quite a cheap microscope, it doesn't have the fine thing. You look through there, that's called the eyepiece, and this in this case is a zoom lens. You keep both eyes open when you look through that. You have the stage, the objectives. In this case, the objectives magnify 100, 200 and 300 times, and then you have the focus. You have to be very careful when you use the focus, because if you're not careful you're just going to chunk and put it straight through whatever's at the stage. Now the stage is where you put it. The stage needs to be level. I don't actually know why they do that. Then you have a mirror. Now I always use daylight or sunlight. You can use a bright light, and some of them, they have a thing where you click around and then you've got like a little light bulb on the bottom and you shine through that way. You have to get that lined up right so it's reflecting. When you look through there, you see it light up basically when you do it. So this is actually going to be a sort of cell video. Now I don't have any proper microscope slides, unfortunately. All I have are broken microscope slides, but that's going to be good enough. I also have a straw, a solution which I'm hoping will act as an anticoagulant, and a needle to take the sample and plaster. So what I'm going to do first of all is to firstly see if this fits under. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Each time you magnify, you get dimmer light because it magnifies more, spreads the light out more, you get less, so you need a brighter light to be able to see it clearly. Put it in focus, you do that. There's often a fine focus as well, which enables you to get things really, really clear. But I don't have that because this is fairly unsophisticated. The first thing I'm going to do is explain what this is. This is an anticoagulant. What it is tap water. It has 8% by weight salt solution in it. This is to prevent the blood from soaking up all the water and the corpuscles themselves from bursting due to osmosis, because osmosis is a situation where something at a high concentration will tend to move to a lower concentration, and that will average out and cause them to go pop, and then they will just be destroyed. The other thing that's in there is citric acid at a concentration of about 7% by weight, and the reason the citric acid is in there is to prevent it from clotting, because citric acid will absorb, or rather it will combine with the calcium ions, and it's impossible for blood to clot without calcium ions. So there it is, or it's difficult for blood to clot without calcium ions. Now put a drop of that on the slide like that, and I'm going to try and put my blood straight into there. Probably not very successfully because I'm not a very practical person, but let's just try it and see what happens. So, prick my finger. Right, just got some blood. Squeeze it to get the blood out. Put that in there. There's not really enough blood in there, unfortunately. Okay, so what I would do next, if this had actually worked, which it hasn't, is to get the slide, pull it across like that so that I get a thin layer, and then stick what's called a cover slip on top. Now a cover slip is a very thin piece of glass which gets you to smooth it all out and protects it. But unfortunately it hasn't worked, and then what I do is I go down there, fiddle about and see it, but it hasn't worked of course because this is one of my experiments and they never do work, do they? What I think I'm going to do in fact is I'm going to deliberately cut myself with a razor and do it that way, and there you go. So no, that didn't work, but I'm going to try and get another sample in a minute off camera. But that's what I would have done. Yeah, so bit of a failure again, never mind, you know what to do. You're likely, probably under a fairly cheap microscope, to see two types of blood objects in the blood. One of them is the much commoner red blood corpuscle, which are called red blood corpuscles because they don't have any nuclei in them and so forth, so they are just basically to carry oxygen and carbon dioxide around the body. They are sort of dinghy shaped, they're sort of donut shaped with a bit in the middle because that's the most efficient shape for absorbing oxygen and giving up carbon dioxide. And they are about 7 microns wide, 7 thousandths of a millimetre wide. And about one of them in 600, one blood cell body, whatever in 600 is a white blood cell, of which there are several different types: granulocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, and lymphocytes, and also monocytes, which do various different things. Those are around 12.5 microns wide, that's 12.5 thousandths of a millimetre. And their job is to mop up dangerous things in the body like bacteria, fragments of cells, and so forth. Then you have platelets, which are not normally visible under a microscope, which is what's partly responsible for blood clotting. And they are fragments of cells which are floating around, which deliberately generate themselves. And they cause blood to clot when there's an injury like that, which is probably now clotted. I think I'm probably a bit too squeamish to do it that way. And then you've got the plasma. The plasma contains protein, salt solution, and various different salts and also hormones. Sorry, this didn't quite go according to plan, but it does go some way towards at least making a video about cells. The main point of doing this is that the white blood cells have irregularly shaped nuclei, which is what I want to look at, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen right now. So I'll see you tomorrow.